Citizens of Western society are slowly letting themselves descend into puppets as their systems become dominated by technology they do not understand. More and more, we look at technology as magic. Not in the endearing way a child's eyes are open to the wonder of the world as they see something so profound, so impressive, that they cannot comprehend its possibility as a man-made invention and credit it to divinity. No, in the way that men and women do not even attempt to understand the advancements around them, but instead accept it as magic to take advantage of. As a society, we no longer understand the tools we wield, nor even commonly question it. And maybe this is the point where you ask, so what? We did not create these things. We aren't the experts and engineers. Why should we be expected to be on the same level? And to that I ask you, if you do not understand the rules of the world you live in, then how do you feel the game of life is fair to you? Part of me revels in the age of the technological utopia I inhabit, with even more innovations soon on the way. There's so much automation, so many dull tasks taken over by machinery, so many improvements to our everyday lives in ways we don't even understand. And therein lies the other part of me, the dull and fearful and pessimistic and, admittedly, much more conscious part of me. I'm not sure there's a better way to start this discussion than with an example, so here's one. Self-driving cars. Self-driving technology puts one of the more common and more dangerous activities in the hands of artificial intelligence, and in theory removes the root of driving's danger, human error. Theoretically, there are no accidents if humans are not behind the wheel, because what danger is there without them? Theoretically, there are no accidents if humans are not behind the wheel, because what danger is there without them? There's no emotion, no road rage, no speeding, no recklessly weaving between cars, no running a red light, no confusion at four-way stop signs, no tailgating, no brake checking. Outside of freak accidents or Mother Nature's interferences, it is seemingly perfect.
Down to the last minute details.
Self-driving cars use sensors and 3D maps of their surrounding environments, meaning other vehicles, including those in blind spots, are always in the robot's field of vision, so to speak. I'm somewhat getting ahead of myself, of course. This level of automated transportation is still a ways away, and we are merely on level 2 of 5, which in layman's terms means our self-driving technology requires the supervision and full attention of the man behind the wheel. But even this technology is far from perfect. As it stands, driving is a very personal and emotionally driven mode of transport. If the mandatory videos on road rage we watched in driver's ed was any indication, it is beyond the X's and O's and ones and zeros. There's almost another subtle but vitally important additional language when driving. AI follows a strict set of rules in driving, and though adaptive to its surroundings, these are still robots, which struggle immensely with human nuance and body language. What will happen when a pedestrian crosses when they really shouldn't? When they start the informal dance that takes place at the four-way stop disco? In a perfect world, we humans would actually follow the rules set in place, and these common faults would not be rebranded as human nuance. But in any case, this creates a divide between human and robot drivers, which I will discuss further later. But what does this have to do with the topic at hand? The problem is, a decent number of drivers think we have arrived to the future, and treat their level 2 cars as level 5s. Yes, I know that sounds goofy and video game-esque, but really what it means is that almost a quarter of the American population believe they can purchase a fully automated car. Eyes off the road, reading a book, watching a movie, taking a nap automated. Is that not concerning? It's largely a product of Tesla and other companies' false advertisement of their technology, which they call fully self-driving often, which is almost purposefully misleading. It's like they want people to drop extra money on a car for an unfulfilled promise. I mean, who would have thought that billionaires and corporations don't have interest in your well-being, but your money? I digress. Though, it is unlikely that someone would hear about a car, research the car, go and look at the car, be shown and explain the car's features by a dealer, and still make the mistake of instilling so much false confidence in the vehicle. It's more so the potential of this issue that is concerning. If hypothetically this technology is pursued, is it possible that upcoming generations will not know how to operate a car without these aids and shortcuts? I don't mean to sound like an old man, criticizing little boys for not knowing how to write cursive, but seriously, technology is known to malfunction and fail at any given moment. It's no more than a heavy sigh when a game bugs out, or a server crashes, or Netflix goes down, or this, that, and the third. But what happens when Johnny McGeneration Alpha's Tesla malfunctions when he's cruising down the highway? No, it is not the car that breaks down. His car is still a hunk of metal running on a motor. But when it's his aids and his tools and his hand-holding technology that shuts down, he is but a lost puppy. Which is the gas and which is the brake? I have the gear and P for propelled. Why is it sitting still? And is it his fault or his parents' fault for never generally teaching him how the machinery he relies on works? And to another point, is it not possible that our most free mode of transportation will be entirely regulated by the government? As I said before, a genuine harmony between electronic and human drivers is impossible. And if I was a betting man, fully electronic roads will win. If we really reach this point of full automation and the power is fully in the hands of the company who owns it, if the majority of the power is not the machine itself but the robotics around it, would you really put it past the government to instill curfews, predetermine route times, and other ridiculous regulations?
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
The only difference between mass transport and personal vehicles may soon be the chumps spending thousands on a glorified charter bus. Maybe the world would be a better place if mass transit and walking were our modes of transportation. But that reality should not be reached by manipulating people from their freedom. When the need for manual labor and understanding is removed, society tends to remove its focus from those things. I look back at stories like The Machine Stops and The Veldt, where this reliance and taking advantage of convenience is seemingly so innocent and so beneficial. And though just stories, though just figments of imagination, they are imitations of real life. And as the march of time carries on, they become more and more relevant and more Simpsons-esque predictions than mere stories. Though this example is more of a worst-case scenario, 10 years in the future situation, there are much smaller things that are becoming lost. There's a great video by Anthony Lawson which heavily carried this theme, that there's a human element being lost in society, in all facets, in communication, in relationships, in sports, in art. As this rise of AI continues its march, a lot of things start to feel so corporate and soulless. And it's one of those things that maybe starts as no more than a bad feeling, but I'm starting to get that bad feeling more and more often in my everyday life. And it's a very aggravating feeling to process, because it's something so minuscule to point out that you feel like a jerk or crazy or both for pointing it out. Reading clocks, for example. Will the world end because some kids can't read clocks? No, we will be fine. Just as kids who stopped learning how to read the time based off of the sun when more optimal tools came about, we will be fine. But doesn't it give you a bad feeling? Doesn't it make you feel this very strange, almost dread? Sure, it's no big deal. But you're telling me if a town loses power for a night in 50 years, nary a soul will know the time? It's this subtle and casual over-reliance that provides comfort but instills cracks in a society that will show at one point or another. These casual over-reliances will grow not only in quantity, but in extremity. What happens if we start having robots cook for us, Fallout 4 style? Very convenient and very helpful, like a permanent personal butler. If it becomes an accessible and useful tool, used in homes and kitchens and restaurants across the country, it would essentially overtake the industry with no downside. One-time cost without a continuous payroll, no risk of human error, available for mass production. Literally, why wouldn't you? I'm sure I could name a dozen or so reasons off the top of my head, but come on, man. You're telling me that if I told you to give me, say, $1,000, and you will never have to cook yourself a meal ever again, you're not tempted to make yourself some room in that budget, even if it means months of saving? Convenience is such a desirable trait, so desirable in fact, that it's easy to ignore the ethics of it. We live such busy bee lives that an extra hour of bliss a day is worth its weight in gold. My point is, use it or lose it applies to darn near every skill on the planet. If you don't have to even think about cooking for years and years and years, you'll forget how to even cook the basics correctly, like scrambled eggs and bacon. If you're born into that society, you won't even know where to start. And that's really my point. Because we soon reach a point of advancements in automation that it doesn't simply become quality of life improvements, but a removal of competence. There's just a certain line between removed nuisances and removed intelligence. One of the first things my teachers told me when AI started becoming a pretty popular homework cop-out was, obviously, don't use it. But once they realized that would fall on deaf ears, they cautioned against letting something else do your homework before you understand it. So, if the math homework is 15 questions and by question 8 it's making complete sense to you, plugging it into PhotoMath isn't the worst idea in the world. More practice still never hurts, but it's a far better choice than basically saying, no thanks, and not even bothering with it. And those lazy students demonstrate a good portion of the population. If you don't get it, heck, I'd even say if you haven't mastered it, don't even think about handing it over to automation. That is a recipe for incompetence. And that's unfortunately a recipe many people are following. There's a great quote by Carl Sagan. We live in a society exquisitely dependent on science and technology, in which hardly anyone knows anything about science and technology. I will show the rest of the quote on screen for you here. But the main point is that skepticism and fundamental education is key to a functioning society and government. And I answered the question from earlier. Why does it matter? The problem is that you cannot question a lick of it. You cannot look past the convenience and put it under a microscope and question it and ask, is this better or worse for my country, for the future? Many people still fail to understand the ways AI data centers and their water usage can affect ecosystems. And my goal is not to act holier than thou, as if I have never asked ChatGPT to do my Spanish 2 homework. I'm not Michael Scott, so upset by all this that I in fact don't consider myself a part of society. I'm stuck in this trap too. My point is to warn and to help you be aware. The things in your life that have been automated and made convenient in ways you don't understand are not always sinister, and are in fact just small life improvements. But it is important, now more than ever, to put these things under heavy scrutiny. It has become far too normalized to fail to understand technology and science. Reclaim your awareness and read a few gosh darn articles.